So, I think it was last week we saw the Emperor of the world, the President of the United States of America, try to implement a ban on Muslim people from entering the United States. We saw a magnificent movement of people, American people, pour out to the airports to challenge that ruling. And we also saw the intervention of the legislative arm of power in the United States. And that's very important, that there's some checks and balances on the system, that people are not emperors, that they cannot make decisions without facing some kind of control, some kind of regulation. Now, we've been very lucky in this campaign to have a crusading lawyer, to have a voice, someone who uses the law for justice, for the poor, for the oppressed. Please welcome Alastair McClymont.
Thank you, Joe. From the very first day that these students walked into our office, it has not been their argument that they want to stay here as overstayers. It has been their argument that they want the government to listen to them, listen to their case, and understand that they are not criminals, they are not trying to cheat anybody, they simply want the government to listen to them, and the government has refused. The government obviously wants to make the point that every single overstayer in this country must leave, and they will not discuss anything with these students while they're still here in New Zealand as overstayers. But this is not what the students have been asking to do, staying here in New Zealand. They just want to be heard. So personally, I'm very confident that we have now achieved an outcome which will enable these students to return to India and make their case to the government that they are not criminals, that they are in fact victims. Now, you need to understand that the government wants to make a strong point publicly that they do not negotiate with overstayers, and that's fine. We can let them make that point. But I can tell you that the students are very happy with the outcome that we've achieved. They feel very comfortable about departing, and we have a very clear plan as to what we're going to do over the next 3 days in order to make it possible for these students to put their case to the New Zealand government that they are in fact victims. I also would like to make the point that having achieved this would have been impossible without the help from the unions, from the Migrant Workers Association, from the various churches and politicians who have been here to help, and of course from the media, without whom New Zealand public would really have no better idea of what's going on in this country. I've had a lot of people say to me over the last couple of weeks that they simply cannot believe that this is happening when these students come here and tell their story. But what I can tell you is that in our office, particularly over the last 5 or 6 years, since the export education industry has boomed, we have simply dozens and dozens of people like this in our office every single day. Now, my job in the office is to sit there and do the paperwork, but my wife has the very difficult task of having to talk to every one of these new clients that walk into our office every day. Almost every one of them have arrived in this country as students, and pretty much every single one of them has exactly the same story to tell every single day. It's just dozens and dozens of them. The story starts with the lies and the deception from Indian immigration agents. It's the lies and deception from the schools who have one goal in mind only, and that is to take their money. It is the exploitation from the employers here in New Zealand who demand large sums of money to give their students jobs, because this is what the government is promising that these students can come here for, is jobs and residence. It's the being paid, if they're lucky, $5 an hour for working 70 hours a week. And it's just the same story over and over again that my wife has to listen to, dozens of times a day, every week, every month, every year on end. It's been a number of years now that I have been trying to talk to the Minister of Immigration about these sort of problems, and it's been a number of years that the Minister of Immigration and members of the national government have refused to discuss this point. Over the last 8 months that these students have been making this stand, we've been pleading for the Minister of Immigration to listen to their case and to understand what they have to say, and they have consistently refused to engage with the students or engage with any of the groups who have been acting on behalf of the students. But the Minister of Immigration did arrive in Auckland yesterday and did come and consult Indian immigration agents here in Auckland. These are the people that he's interested in talking to, because these are the people who are generating the money for the industry. He didn't come to this church to talk to the victims. He didn't come to talk to the trade unions who have been helping. They didn't come and talk to the churches who are helping. It's been Indian immigration agents that he's come to talk to. So this has really got to change. This is not the end. This is simply the beginning. I feel very encouraged that now that people are starting to understand what the situation is, but there's a big fight ahead, and we really need to start making the public aware of these issues so that they can raise their voices. As an example, I just want to mention a photograph that I received this morning on my telephone. There is one particular education agent in India who Immigration New Zealand are well aware of, and they know what he's been doing. They have written to me and said that, yes, they know he's a corrupt education agent. I've now received a photograph of him working together with a government-funded polytechnic in India, sending students to New Zealand. Photo arrived this morning. It's a polytechnic which receives government funding from our taxpayer dollars, which then get transferred to Indian immigration agents that Immigration New Zealand know are corrupt. So this is still happening today. Something needs to change. So please, this is not the end, this is the beginning, and I encourage everybody to stand up and speak on all students' behalf, not just these 9 students here. Thank you.